Hi, everybody. I am going to get started because it's 8 o'clock and there is so much to cover. So my goal of tonight is to be able to cover the beginning heart of the Wilson lesson plan. We have to review a few more things that we didn't finish last week. And then the goal is to get to the 10-part lesson plan and do the first 5 parts. I don't know how many of you did get the email or didn't get the email, but I'm going to be going straight through 9:30 tonight because I am not going to be teaching on Wednesday. And I made a bunch of videos for you so you can practice the Wilson lesson from 1 through 5 on your own, that you can just watch my videos and practice. And I will not be teaching Wednesday night. And my goal is really to do the same thing next Monday night, to teach also from 8 to 9:30 and not include Wednesdays. There's so much to do in the Wilson program. And so the goal of between now and getting to the finish line is we get through the 10-part lesson, we understand it, and then you really can plug in everything. So going back to the PowerPoint, which I'm going to share now. By the way, just as a thing, if anybody did not get a prize that they felt that they deserved, feel free to email them. I did forward all the emails that I got over to my secretary, so some of you should have already received your prizes. Okay. The beginning, we talked a lot about the history and all the fun theories and why we do what we do. And now we need to talk about how we do what we do, okay? And in the ideal world, you'd all be sitting and you'd all have partners and you'd all have all the pieces of the Wilson program in front of you, so that as I teach it, I would show it to you, you would practice with your partner, and then I would watch you do it with your partner and be able to critique you. And that's how I do a class when I'm teaching it face to face. And some of you may be very happy that you're not doing it that way. And in Zoom, you're going to really just sort of watch me do it. And my hope is that you will then take it with you and practice it with the students. One very important thing, if you are using Wilson, you want to go to wilsonlanguage.com and you want to get all the pieces. We in our offices have most of these pieces. So if you're working for Tree of Knowledge, depending on where you are, and you say, hey, I really would like to use this, feel free to send us an email because we do have a lot of this. Okay? All right. So the first thing that you are going to need is something called students develop a sound notebook to have, and I don't call it really a notebook, I really call it a binder. And I have the binder broken up. Now, this is very important. I'm going to go back and forth between Wilson, which is a program designed for people that are ages 4th grade and up. And then I'm going to pick and show you some materials from Foundations. What's the difference between the two programs? Barbara Wilson, when she created the Wilson Reading Program based on all the theories that we talked about, she was working in the prisons and she was working with a population of adults that didn't learn how to read. And if you actually want to see a video of it, you go to my YouTube channel, you can see me talk about using this with an adult. But the materials are very adult-like. And I think just a lot of feedback in the early years of using Wilson, and you have to realize that I've been using Wilson for close to over 20 years. We gave her feedback and said, this program is so good. We want to use it with children, but the materials you've created are not developmentally appropriate. And so she went back and created pre-K, K, 1, 2, and 3 Foundations, which is more aligned with the standards in terms of what you're supposed to be teaching at that level, but also the materials are much more user-friendly for children. When I am working with children, you will see me go back and forth and interchange between Wilson and Foundations. And it's something that I do well because I've been doing this for 20 years. There's a lot of trainers that only train in Foundations, and there are a lot of trainers that only train in Wilson. But because I like the materials of one versus the other, I a lot of times will interchange, and you'll see me interchange them in the video. I am primarily following the Wilson, I would say, structure, but the materials, a lot of times, I will pull from Foundations. This sound notebook is one
Plus,
of the,
every so often she'll drop a little factoid.
Right.
Like that's
What?
hello, is there, is everybody
feel like-
muted? Are you talking? Okay, thanks. Anyways, if you have any questions as you watch me do this, feel free to ask me any questions, okay? But the sound notebook is exactly what I'm talking about, where I interchange Wilson and Foundations. Now, if you buy the Foundations boxes, okay, they come with their own sound notebooks. You'll see me reference them today. You don't have to create it because they make one for every single grade level, okay? That is great when you're working with a young student. But if you're working with an older student, and you should know, even with the younger students, I mix and match. So I make a binder, and the binder has 5 sections, okay? Section number 1 are sounds. So every sound that we learn, and I'll usually pull the pictures of the sounds from some of the Foundations material. Then there's a phonics rules book, which I'm going to share with you. Not something you want to use with a young student, but you can pick some of the phonics rules from the K-4 Foundations books. Then there is a vocabulary section. Then there is journal writing. Also, in the Foundations, they come with separate notebooks for journal writing. But the reason, again, I like to put it in a binder and not give out a book, because some kids get very quickly on certain areas, and some kids have to spend a lot of time in one letter or one sound or one diagram or one rule that they just can't pick. And so I prefer not to do the bounded notebooks, but to make our own binder. Now, there are 2 notebooks. One is this notebook that we're referring to, and the second notebook is a teacher notebook. Now, in the ideal world, if you're doing it as a class or a small group, so you're going to keep in your binder the following things. We have made in our office special teacher binders. What do we put in them? We put in them how to set up the board. You'll see I'm going to refer to it today. We put in it, for every single step, copies of the word cards, because there's so many activities that you can do with that. We put in it pre-done lesson plans for every single section, and then extra lesson plans. And that is what the teacher has. Now, if you're doing one-on-one, it's phenomenal to have that teacher notebook, because you can reference it, you can pull it out, you can photocopy it. And I have found that there's a lot of pieces with Wilson. You'll see me today talk about that. And you'll see in the videos that I reference these notebooks, okay? One of the big frustrations that I have with a lot of teachers today is they'll tell me they're using Wilson. And when I say, well, where's the student notebook? I'd love to take a look at it. They give me a blank look, okay? There shouldn't be a blank look. Every single child that you are working with in this reading program should have a binder. And every single teacher, if you are using Wilson, should have the Wilson notebook that we create for our teachers are probably this thick. And they're amazing, because then, even though we have online access and we can pull anytime we want, let the pre-done lesson plans, it's very useful to have it pre-done, at least one step at a time. So if you're starting in step 1, you should have all the lesson plans for step 1. You should have all the word cards for step 1, like it's already there, and you don't have to go looking for it every time you need it, okay? So that is the notebooks. Any questions on the notebooks? Okay, there's a lot of other materials. Now, We talked about this when I sent out the video. Be sure that you're not adding an extra sound to the consonants. The consonants are clipped, T, tap, t, right? We're not saying ta, we're not saying te, we're not saying ta, right? That would be adding a vowel sound, all right? Use keywords for the sound associations, but not always. You're going to see me talk today about the fact that consonant keywords can be dropped once they get the sound. Vowel keywords you always have, okay? English is a sound-based language. And we talk about that when we talk to our students. You have to be able to hear the sounds. Spelling requires sound symbol association. We're not going to do spelling and writing today. We're going to do that next week. But and I'm going to talk about how to teach it and how to do it, but it's part of the lesson plan. So we don't just teach reading. We're teaching reading and spelling. Steps 1 through 5 relate to reading. Steps 6 through 10, 6 through 8 is really spelling. 9 and 10 is comprehension. Okay. Some students learn it intuitively. And I talk about this when I talk to teachers. 10% of the population, you could do absolutely nothing. You could be the worst teacher in the world. They will learn how to read by themselves. And what's confusing is you have those few kids that you find that can do this, and the vast majority of them can't. So don't get whatever because you have one early reader that dropped into your class. Most need more direct teaching. 7 to 10% need intensive teaching. As I go through the lesson plan today, I have an actress who just joined us to do these lesson plan, these parts, and you're going to see lots and lots of errors. And I'm going to talk to you about how to correct some of these errors, but I'm also going to talk to you about how, going back to this thing, 10% will automatically be taught this and not have errors. The rest will have to be doing a lot of direct teaching, and the rest will have to do multiple lessons on the same teaching, okay? Any questions that you have on this slide? Okay. So we gradually teach each sound. We learn in 2 directions, linking the letter, the name to the sound. We're going to see the letters, and you're going to see this in the videos, and you're going to hear sounds and names of letters. Now, what you should be asking me is, what happens with a kid who cannot hear well? They don't read well. There's a lot of research that shows that children with hearing loss will struggle in the reading process, which is why it is so important to make sure that if you think that they are having hearing loss, that you should get them tested. So many kids need tubes, and just tubes alone can help them. So many kids have a lot of, I want to call it junk, but it's all that back stuff, when they have colds and things like that, and it stuffs their ears, and it makes it hard for them to hear. So you really actually have to have good hearing in order to be able to learn this way. How we teach the deaf, because I actually was trained in sign language and in Braille once upon a time ago, we do a lot more sight words. And so they have to learn English all by sight. And again, some of them, it's not so bad because they can memorize and they have that strength, but others don't, and they tend to lag behind in learning how to read, how to read. Okay. So that's pretty much, okay. We talked about the syllable types. In today's lesson that I prepared for you, I did not really do anything but the closed syllable types. At some point, and I hope by the end of this class, I will go over all the different syllables. It's a part of the teaching. We teach how to read the 6 syllables and how to break them up. Okay, let's talk a little bit about terminology, okay? Present concepts within the context of controlled written text. We are controlling the text, and you'll see this in today's lesson as to what this child reads. We are using text only in sounds that they already know. And that's what it means, control text. We don't put them into frustration. Here, read this. It's a word they haven't learned how to figure out. It's a whole set of laws, that phonics that they haven't figured out. We control the text. Okay. This is an important vocabulary term, and I'm going to talk about it later on as I go through the lesson part. There's decodable versus controlled text. Now, decodable text are, they follow rules. Cat, cat. Mailman follows a rule. It's a compound word. You got to break it up. Mail, man. The AI sound makes the A sound. It follows rules. But this child may not have been taught this rule. They don't know how to break up syllables yet. They don't know that the AI is the A sound. So we don't present it to them, but it is still decodable text, okay? We control it because they may not have learned it, but that doesn't mean that it's not decodable. 20% of the English language is not decodable. A lot of the Yiddish and Hebrew words that have been transliterated into English, they're not decodable. And therefore, we have to just teach those as sight words. And even from day one, we will be teaching sight words because we have to have them read a sentence and they have to know something like the. Sometimes the original sight words that we teach them, they are truly decodable, but they don't know yet the rule. And sometimes they are really sight words. They make no sense, and we still have to have them. And we're going to talk about memorization when it comes to sight words. Okay? I am blown away by this statement. It's so simple. Practice, practice, practice. You're going to see me do a sound drill with my granddaughter, and you're going to see me do a little bit of practice. And I'm going to talk to you about the fact that there's one sound she's like a little bit not getting, and how much practice has to be. Wilson done well in the ideal utopian world that we don't really live in. But in the utopian world, parents are practicing pieces of what we are going over with them. And in a beautiful world, the entire school is working on this. It is so lovely when I go into a school where I see tapping and I see all kindergartners tapping, because then it doesn't make our kids who we may have to pull over or pull aside feel uncomfortable. Okay. So actually, I was wrong. It's 84% follow a regular pattern. So it's enough that our kids should be able to do this, okay? Today I'm going to show you about A, apple, a. And one of the nice things about Wilson is they have multiple manipulatives doing the same thing. And it's really great because you can change it up and not have to always be using the same manipulatives. And I'll show you some of that today. Okay, let's remember, multisensory reading is using visual, auditory, sound, right? Fine motor, and kinesthetics. Now, I'm going to show you today where we use some of the fine motor even without writing. But let's talk, and I'm going to show you today a little bit about kinesthetics. But one of the nice things that I tell teachers is, because a lot of teachers come to me and they say, Wilson, it's so structured, it's so scripted. And I'm like, no, there is a lot of room for creativity. And one of the first areas of creativity is discussing with your kiddo reinforcement programs, what they like, what they would enjoy to earn. And second of all, music. It is really important to put music into and incorporate music into this program. And so I'm going to show you different places where music is very appropriate and should be used. Okay? Okay. We teach phonemic and syllabic segmentation. We're not going to get into it today, but at some point you want to learn how to break up the syllables. Okay? All right. It's 8:20, which means we're 20 minutes into this. So I'm going to ask a question. I talked about this last week, and I'm going to, and if you get the number and you want to answer the question, you have that opportunity. Please, everybody write down a number, because I think I forgot to tell you that. So everybody write down a number. And I'm going to call out a number, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So first, I'll tell you what the question is. What is controlled and decodable text, and why is it very important? And the number that I'm calling out is 5. Anybody want to answer? Anybody have the number 5?
I can answer. So decodable is when a text
Who's answering? Joyce?
Yes.
Okay, Joyce, send me an email after class. Okay, so tell me why it's important, Joyce.
So decodables are passages that have rules, and controlled texts are the ones the rules that you've already taught to your student. So you control what's in the text, what spelling rules.
And why is it important to be in control?
Because you build up that confidence, and your student doesn't get frustrated with.
Yeah. Keyword, minimize frustration. What we do not want them to do is get into an anxiety panic attack. Because when they start to lose their breath or their heart starts palpitating, right? Then they become really poor readers. And so the goal is to keep the breath. They shouldn't be very scared. They should have seen this in multiple different ways. And then it's easier for them to do. Reading gets when improved readers become more successful, the more improvement they see in themselves. Their confidence builds. They become more confident. The anxiety level, the trauma, all of these things go down. Okay? And remember, we talked about this. Reading is hard. So that is what we got to do. Okay. Now, I am going to start by walking you through a lesson plan. Are there any questions on the introduction? Okay. Let me show you what a lesson plan. By the way, did Rebecca, I don't know if she's sending this stuff out. Has Rebecca sent you the materials? I don't know. Tani, did you get an email from Rebecca today?
I got an email giving us the videos from the past lessons, but I don't believe any of it has been actual material.
Okay. So today I'm going to share my screen. However, oh, okay, no materials. Okay. So anybody who would like anything that I share in this class, all you have to do is send me an email and I will forward you this material. Okay. And I will tell Rebecca that everything that we do today should be sent out to the group email. Okay. I think she didn't want to send this out because I think she thought, like, let me just first explain it and then we can do it. Okay. So first thing I'm going to show you is okay. First thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to do this. Share my screen. Okay. Wilson has, everybody can see my screen? Oh, rules notebook. Okay. Wilson has a student's notebook, step 1 through 6. The vast majority of you are never going to go past 1 through 6 because really 1 through 6 means you're reading at a 4th grade level. Steps 7 through 12 are much higher level stuff, what a lot of high schoolers will use for SAT and pre-SAT prep. Okay, so this is the answer key, and in this table of contents, it has everything you need. Remember I talked to you about the different sections? It has all the papers for you to put into these sections. So here's a copy of the consonants. Here's a copy of the diagraphs. It's, you know, as you get into things, you can follow this notebook and put it into the appropriate place as you go through it in the lesson plans. Okay? So that's something I wanted to show you. The next thing I want to show you is a lesson plan. Okay, here we go. Now we're getting to the heart of Wilson. Okay. They're level 1, 1.1, and 1.2. You're teaching all the sounds. Most of our kids come in knowing a lot of those sounds already. So the only difference between 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 is that 1.3, it's kind of like a review of the sounds. We assume that they've all been taught, whereas 1.1 and 1.2 teach the actual sounds. Now it's interesting, I use this 1.3 lesson on my model that you're going to see soon. And I really didn't think I was going to have to do so much work in this area because I thought for sure she knows them all really easily. And then I found out you'll see in the things she doesn't. Okay. Now, I'm going to go through each section and explain it. And then I'm going to show you a video of me doing each section. The first section is Sounds Quick Drill. If you see, it tells you exactly how many minutes it should take, 2 to 3 minutes. They base their lesson plan on somewhere between 40 to 45 minutes. They don't want you doing a lesson longer than that. And you'll see as you watch my actress today, why she cannot do longer than that, okay? We are going to follow this sheet as I go through the videos, okay? So look at number 1. It lists the vowels for you. It lists the consonants, and you see how some are with keywords and some are without keywords. The without keywords is because we assume she already knows these sounds. Welded, we're not up to that section yet. And drill leader, if you're doing this in a group, you should be assigning a drill leader every single day. Okay? Now, you see where it says add to notebook? So it says you have to add vowel, consonant, and diagraph pages. So if you go back to that original thing that I showed you, which said steps 1 through 6 notebook, you're going to be adding those sheets to the binder in the sound section. Now we're going to watch the video. It's over here. So if we're looking at the lesson plan, right? The first lesson plan is the Sounds Quick Drill. And I'm going to model how we do the Sounds Quick Drill. What we do if you're in a classroom is you would call up a student, and sometimes you have different students leading the drill. Today, I'm going to lead the drill, and my model student is going to show how we do it. Now, if you look at the piece of paper. Now, if you notice, my student, model student, is standing. Why do you think she's standing versus like sitting in a group area? Why did I have her stand?
She can move.
Exactly, because she needs to move. And this is one part that doesn't require you sitting. So I figured for this student, it's ideal for her to stand a little bit. And then later on, we move to sitting. Another interesting thing that I will always tell teachers is this can be done through song. So Quick drill time, you can do it using Pavlovian sounds, like different chimes. So kids get used to chime, and then they know, oh, it's the quick drill time. Okay, who's the drill leader? Okay, who's the one who's doing this? All right. Another creative way to do this is through cheer. A lot of kids that are doing this in the classroom, the teachers will create a whole dance to doing the quick drill. I've seen it. I didn't have a video of it. I wish I did so I could show it to you. Going back to the lesson plan, if you see on the top of the page, it says, just going to go over this for a second. It says the date, the subset, word type to chart. We'll always start with real. You have to master real before you go to nonsense. Let's talk a little bit vocabulary, Wilson vocabulary. Real words are decodable words that actually have meaning. Nonsense words are decodable words that have no meaning. They're like made up just to see how well you can decode. You're going to put student's name and group. You're going to pick together what are you trying to do, right? And then you may talk about trouble spots for this student. I know this E, for example, is a trouble spot. And I'm going to just remind myself that I have to constantly practice that. So you're going to be putting that on. In the initial lesson that you do, you don't know the trouble spot. So this may be the first 1.3. But as you do 1.3 and see where she gets stuck, the next time you do know what your trouble spot is. So you'll have 1.3 lesson 2. Okay? Vowels and consonants. Now, if you look, it says with words, without keywords. Because basically, this is a 1.3 lesson where we're assuming you've already done this quick drill multiple times. And the rule is you always review the short vowel sounds, but you don't always have to review every consonant sound with the key word, because it's very possible they already know it. If you're doing this as a first lesson, 1.1, you're teaching each sound, each consonant sound, then that's a different way. So we're already assuming she's been exposed to all these letters. She already knows some, and some she can actually do without the keyword. So I'm going to model. Ready? Repeat after me. A, apple, A. A, apple, A. We're going to do the vowels first. E, Ed, F, F. E, Ed, F, F. I, itch, it. I, itch, it. O, octopus, ah. O, octopus, ah. U, up, U, up. Okay, so we now know that she really does know the consonant sound, the vowel sounds. Now I'm going to do 3 consonants with the keyword, because they're a little bit hard, and if you see it's the B, the D, and the QU, because those are a lot of times mixed up by kids, okay? So watch this, ready? B, bat, book. B, bat, the. Good. The next one is D, dog, D. D, dog, D. And the next one is Q is the chicken letter. It's always with the U. Q, U, we. Working together. Q is the chicken letter. It's always with the U. Q, U, we, Let's do that one more time, okay? Because that's a hard one. Ready? Q is a chicken letter. It's always with the U. Q, U, we, If I was her teacher right now, I would be sending that home on a voice note. Practice it. Get it memorized. It'll just become so much easier. One other thing that I want to bring up here, going back to the lesson plan. is, if you notice, lesson focus, is it an introduction? So this is the first time we're doing 1.3. Maybe we've already introduced 1.3 and now we're trying to work on accuracy, okay? She cannot be accurate if she doesn't know that QU, okay? But let's just say she practiced, and we taught this on Monday, and by Wednesday, she knew it. Q is the chicken letter, always with the U, Q, U, queen, quack, quack, quack. She knew it. And then there's a fluency. And the fluency part of the quick drill is where a student leader comes up, and in theory, this should be done within a minute. So either you're doing it in a classroom setting or a small group setting, and a group leader is leading the chair, or you are putting this paper in front or one of these flip notebooks, and you are having the kid do it. And if you're doing a fluency quick drill, you're timing them. Let's see if you can get this done in under a minute, because that's really the ideal thing. We want them done in under a minute. Want to try it yourself now? No? Well, let's try it one time and I'll help you. Ready? Q is the chicken. It's always with the U. Queen. Okay, so as you can see, that is one that has to be practiced. And what you would put down in your notes, you would say, oh, you know what, I have to remind myself that QU is one of those things that always needs to be practiced. Now, if you see there's a section called Add to Notebook, we will then give her pages of the B, the D, and the Q into her sounds notebook, which I'm going to describe in another video what that notebook is supposed to look like. All right, now we're going to do some of these you already know, right? So now I'm just going to do the sound. So now take your finger and let's tap it real quickly. Good. Now let's do repeat. Good. Now let's do good. Now let's do. Now let's do. Now let's do. Oh. Practice this one more time. Q with the chicken letter. It's always with the U. Q, U, queen. Now, these are the diagrams. We're not going to do them today. And the reason we're not doing the diagrams today is because it's not in our sounds quick drill, because we still have some consonants that have to be reviewed. And until all the consonants of top over here and all the vowels are like immediate quick, to the point that the student could do the quick drill by herself, we don't add any more sounds. Let's stop here. Okay. Any questions that you have? Whoops, hold on. Wait 1 second. Whoop. Any questions that you have on that part?
I'm just wondering, where is there a YouTube video where you sound out all the sounds and the letters for the consonants and the vowels so that we know how to teach them that way?
I had that already. I
You had
think
that
I
already.
did that last week. Yeah, in my YouTube
Okay.
channel, I do all the sounds.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so
Mhm.
again, if you are missing that, it's just send me a thing and I will send me an email and I will send that out. I will try to remind myself I tell Rebecca that anything that I use for these classes and all the YouTubes and all the links should be sent out.
Thank you.
Okay, because it's really, really important to practice that. Okay, let's go back for a second to the, hold on 1 second. I just want to
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How, if a kid's already, they're struggling, but they know a lot of this, but they learned it in a different way. Are we making them
Yes.
start over, teaching it them differently? How does that
Okay,
fall into place?
it's a good question, because there's multiple multisensory programs out there. But the bottom line is, it really doesn't make a difference if they used a different keyword. That's not going to kill us, but we do want to make sure that they're doing the sounds correctly. So if, for example, if they did bat or baby or da-da-da, no, there's a reason about how she chose every keyword and to make sure that it was not mixing it up with other sounds and things like that. So it's not, again, the key word for the consonants are not that important. The key words for the vowels are. And you may want to go back, like, for example, this is a perfect example. This YouTube video, she never learned QU. She knows the Q sound. She didn't learn it as Q is the chicken letter always with a U. So I was really basically teaching that for her because I was modeling a lesson plan. So you could go back, you could review it. I have taken high school kids, okay, who really just need a really good review. And I've done like speed Wilson, okay? And it's really not that complicated. I just make them do it, practice it on tape. And it's just, again, if you're following one set of rules, then that's the rules you should follow. But the key thing is the sounds more than even the key words, okay? One other thing I want to just share with you, hold on one second. Under sounds quick drill, I would write some notes and I would say, I have to review the QU. I have to go over certain things. You know, this is where I would put notes on the side to help me as I make the next lesson plan. Okay? All right, now we're going to go to the next sections. Any questions on this section? Okay. Let's get down. Let's go to share. Here we go. Okay.
I just have a
All
question.
right. Yeah, go ahead. Who has a question?
C and G, you teach hard.
What? There is another sound. You are correct, right? The K sound, is that what do you see?
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's another keyword for that. You don't teach it initially. This is like the beginning, but at some point you are going to teach that.
okay.
Yeah, you're going to have another, like S makes two sounds. S, snake, S, bugs, Z, because it's at the end of a word. So you are going to get there and you are going to teach that. I am using the pre-K sound sheet. But I want to go back a little bit just to show you, because I'm glad you brought that up. I want to show you, if you went into that rules notebook, which I will give everybody a copy, you know, let me just show you something quickly. I want to just show you this. It has on the older version, right? I used the charts based on what I know this kid knows. But in the older version, hold on one second. And you do the rules notebook, right? Okay, can everybody see the rules notebook? If you see the whoops. If you see this, right, you'll see that the sounds that they have start like this, and you see under S snakes, you see visit, they do add some of those different, and you see under G, they do game, G, and they do more rules. So you don't teach it in the beginning, but they tell you, like in level 7, that's when you're going to teach the other sound, or in the case of Z, you're going to teach it at 3.1. So they tell you when you're going to be teaching that sound. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And that's by the way, why the sound, I feel that the sound notebook is so important, because especially for little kids, when you're really teaching it and they're not yet there, they're not yet there. But once you get to the point where they are there and you are teaching that sound, like you're in level 3, right? So you're going to give them a different sound sheet based on the level that they're at. But you don't want to overwhelm them in the beginning. And once in a while, kids who are coming to you for intervention, who, you know, they sort of know because they've heard some of this stuff, and they'll ask you, they'll say, wait a minute, but I thought it always says this, because maybe that's what they picked up. you know, and you'll say, yes, it does. And when we get to that level, we're gonna go over that, okay? All right, now we're gonna do 2. The second part of the lesson is where you're going to teach putting together the words, okay? Here's where you show individual words based on the sounds that you've already gone over in the first step. Now, if you look around, I want to show you the materials. One of the important things about doing this kind of program is the organization that you sort of have to have before you start. So if you notice, we went to a chart that was on the wall. That chart exists in many forms. You can use that chart. You can use a stand-up. They sell like a stand-up chart sounds flip book that you can use. I like to do that chart standing because we don't want to do so much sitting. This part has to be done sitting. I want to show you what I have set up for me when I start the sitting part of the day, okay? So first of all, I have the letter board, and this comes in 2 versions. It comes in the Wilson version, which they have. It also comes in the Foundations version. The only difference between Wilson and Foundation is Wilson is made for 4th grade and up. It's not very cutesy, whereas Foundations is made for pre-K and up. It's really meant to be used more in schools, so it's just a little bit more enjoyable, and they have a lot more products, especially for younger students. I have in front, and this comes from Foundation, I have in front of me a whole notebook, a whole strip thing. I guess I don't want to say it's a notebook, it's more like a strip. And basically you put this on the desk of a student, and every student has this. So they basically have the chart, A, apple, app, B, bat, book. They are able to do their name. They have a ruler. So they have also a very cute thing to help them remember the B's and the D's. They also have a numbers chart. So this actually, I don't use it so much in a one-on-one situation, but it is ideal if you're taking a kid out and using the same desk, that you have each kid having their own individual chart. Then the next thing you would have is the lesson plan in front of you, because you want to take notes on the lesson plan. How are they doing? Remember, this is all about prescriptive and planning for the next lesson. So we're using a lesson plan that's pre-planned for us, but we want to be able to write notes. Next time, I'm going to remind myself I have to go over again the QU. In front of me is a student's notebook created by Foundations. Now, in the Wilson world, where kids are older, you have to make a notebook with dividers, and there are 5 sections. In the Foundations world, they sort of make it for you, where you have a page of all the sounds, you have a handwriting component. Each page, each sound has its own page that they can go in color. And it's a little bit different than the Wilson notebook. I'm going to be doing a short video on how to create a Wilson notebook, but in the Foundations world, they come pre-done. And then they have a journal for handwriting. Now, if you notice, we're using a Wilson lesson plan. They don't have handwriting as a part of a Wilson lesson plan because they're assuming that these are adults over a 4th grade level that already know how to write. In this case, today, I have a student that's in what grade? Tell everybody your name. Right, she does sort of know how to write, but she can definitely review the writing. And so I'm going to show a little bit of that sky writing and where to incorporate that in the Wilson lesson plan. This is also a Foundations board. If you see on one side, it shows the sun, the airplane, the ground, the work, and it shows you how to do development of letters. And then here is where they practice writing words. It's a dry erase board. So very important tools. Now, those are the important tools that we're going to use today to go through our lesson. So we're sort of combining Wilson with some of the Foundation products and also putting in handwriting. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on that video? it was basically, and this is something I wanted to just spend a little bit of time for a second. I'm gonna stop the share. I just want to show you some of these materials. And let me tell you something, these materials are not cheap, okay? And one, I used to have a woman who, and I want to sort of like dedicate tonight. I taught Wilson for 20 years with a woman by the name of Vivian Garfunkel. She was my longest and oldest employee. And she went to the original Wilson training and got us all excited and really brought this into the tree of knowledge. And one of the things that she used to say is, you know, Nikki, there's 3 things you got to do in order to prepare to teach Wilson. She said, number 1, you have to pour yourself a strong cup of coffee because the amount of cognition and moving around of materials requires a lot of concentration just on the part of a teacher. Said second, you really have to prepare your materials. And especially in my early days where I was going to libraries and people's homes, I have to tell you, we used to lose a lot of those materials and they're not cheap to replace them. And what was funny is I was preparing for tonight and guess what? We lost 2 tiles, but then we ended up finding them. So I will give you some tidbits on how to stay organized with this thing. So just to give you an example, we talked about, and I want to show this to you. This comes like this, that magnet, those magnet tiles, right? They come like this, and you're going to see them in the next lesson. And one of the things that I always tell people is they come, we have to break up the magnets. And I always say, get a strong Ziploc bag and make sure that you put the bag in the and all the magnets not on the board, but in a bag, because there's a very strong likelihood that one of these tiles will get missing and then you got to buy a whole new section of tile. Okay. So it's really, really important to be able to keep all that stuff. And I'm just giving you some advice of things that I've been doing for a long time. Okay. And you see how I set everything up before, because you're going to have to maneuver a lot of pieces. Any questions on this? Okay, let me just make sure that I am still sharing. Yeah, okay, ready for the next video? Nope. The next video is okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go. One of the things I have to introduce you to is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay? I've used this with students. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, we tried to switch to go to another more complicated microphone experience, but clearly I don't see it working that well, but I want to be able to talk through this. Do you see sand timers here? Let's talk about what's there in front. I just want to point it out. Number 1, you see the tiles? Those are all tiles from the board. Number 2, you see this is now sitting out. Hold on one second. Whoops. This is now all sitting out. Okay. And the timers are important because one of the things that I do for kids is kids always want to know, when is this over? And I will have a 30-minute timer with 15 minutes that I will turn over in the beginning of the session. And I will say, when these are done, when the red and the yellow are done, we are done. And it's cute. Every once in a while, I'll see them looking over it. And these smaller ones I will use to say, hey, let's see what we can finish in a minute. Let's see what we can finish in 2 minutes. Okay. You'll also see a pair of scissors, and I'm going to talk about the word cards in a minute. And you see the lesson, right? That's in front of me. And you see the notebooks. Okay. Let's continue. Right away at the beginning of the 30 minutes, I use this timer. So it shows that this is the red, this is done, we're done no matter what. I think it helps kids. So we're going to put that timer on. Now, this next section, section number 2, which we have not even really started yet, it says it should take 5 minutes. So one of the things that we're going to do is take out the 5-minute timer, which is right here, but we sort of only used it. And we're gonna put the 5-minute timer on to see if we can do this in 5 minutes. Now, the current concept that we're reviewing is blending 3 sounds into totable words. So, the first word, which I'm gonna take out here, and I wanna show you guys this board. She finished doing this board and putting together these letters, okay? Now, at the bottom of the board is where we're gonna put in the word. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. If you noticed, these letters, okay, how a kid sets up the board. If you look at the board, let me take out the board now for 1 second so I can stop the share and show you the board. Again, the boards also come with different layouts. The Wilson boards with each step tell you how to lay it out. Okay. In this case, if you notice, the board has the letters underneath it. Now, prior to this, I do an activity where I take all these pieces out, put them down, and I have her put the letters back up here. And the reason is it's a tactile way for her to be able to do this and to put these in order. Okay? So the first word I'm going to set up for her, okay? And when she sees, first thing she's going to do, look at this word. First thing she's going to do is tap out the sounds. Ready? Take your finger.
Are you going back to share?
Sorry. How would you sound it out? Beautiful. Read the word. Excellent. And when we're done with the word, she will then put the word back into the letters of where it needs to be. Please put the word back in. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to take the next word. And the next word is, I will show this to you. I would like you to tap the sounds first and then read the word. So first see the word that she's got to do. Now you tap out the sounds. No? Very good. So let's do it again. Start from the beginning. Perfect. What's the second one? Now, if she forgets a vowel, right, we don't have going to happen. I'm going to talk a little louder because I see this video didn't come out so long. So what happens is that she has the word rim, right? And rim, where did I get that word from? It came straight from the lesson plan. We did math. That was easy for her, the A, and now we're doing the I, right? We're doing different words that practice different vowels. Again, if you were doing 1.1 and 1.2, you would only be doing the short A first, and you would have a whole lesson plan dedicated just to the short A. You would have a whole lesson plan dedicated to the short I. But in 1.3, we assume they sort of already know the vowels. And what happens is that, yeah, she does, but she's not accurate. And if in the ideal world, when you see that she's not accurate, you would go back and do a special lesson plan just on the I, the short vowel I, okay? So basically, I have to go back in this situation and I have to show her how to retap. Now, there's 2 interesting things that you see in this video, which is, number 1, you find that I am, you look at my lips, I'm sort of showing her how to do it. And when I went for the initial years ago, and I used to do coaching with teachers, I would videotape them and we would always laugh at how much we don't realize that we're doing it, but we're actually, showing them how to do it with our mouth, which we're not really supposed to be doing, okay? So we have to take her back. She doesn't read it right, and we have to sound it out. We cannot correct her. We have to say, look at the vowel, and maybe we say I, ich, I, go back to that, and now do the okay? So that's what is going on in this video. Look at your and look at your word, find the I, find it, and what is that? I, is. We'll remind her to go back to the chart. Now, do it again. After, please put the word back. Now, in normal circumstances, we would do about the list of words here. We may use the words that we practiced yesterday. We may have new words, but it's approximately anywhere from 5 to 10 words that we are going to practice single words. Okay, now going back to the lesson plan, okay? Let's go back to that. All right, it says here review concepts. Because it's a 1.3 first introduction, they don't have reviewing concepts. But now, tomorrow, I'm doing 1.3 again. And I'm going to review again the short vowel sounds. And maybe right before these words, I'm going to say, point to your chart or point to your piece of paper that's on. Let me just show this to you. Here, go, point. Find me the A apple A. Find me the I itch I. Like go and point to them. And then I'm going to review words. And maybe I'm going to start with the word she missed yesterday, which would be rim. So that's what you do. You always put the error words that she missed from the previous lesson into review words. Current concepts, we're tapping to blend 3 sounds to decode words. And maybe I would pick a different word list. The beauty of Wilson is you don't have to create any of these words. They have readers that this all comes from, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, thousands of words. They also have cards that are made for each section. And that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to show you how to deal with the cards. But again, you don't have to come up with anything. They already have all of this stuff. Any questions so far on where we're at? I'm going to stop this for a second. We've done an hour. I'm going to give everybody a 5-minute bathroom break. It's a lot. Stretch your hands. What I tell students sometimes, close your eyes, open, close your eyes, open, close your eyes, open. We will reconvene at 9:06. Okay, I'm gonna reconvene. All right, so what we were doing is step 2, and we were watching this video. Now we are in part 3, and he wrote quick drill, but it's really not true. It's just really part 3. Anyways, in part 3, Wilson created word cards. They come on one on a page. There are 15 of them. You can cut them, and if you're working with young students, it's actually a great activity. There are many different activities that you can do with these word cards. You can have them marker them on top of the words. You can have them cut them. You can I have a set of every word cards laminated so that you can use dry erase, okay? So you'll see that in this case, I was doing an activity with her, and then I was having her practice the words. So in 2, we're pulling down the magnets and we're having her do the words, but now we're showing her the words and we're having her read them. Okay, so let's see if we can see this. No, didn't share. Okay. Let's see if we can see this video. Okay, now we're starting the word cards. Where to find the word cards? Wilson sells a big package of word cards, steps 1 through 12. They're also different colors. I have in my office, what we do is we've had these already laminated and cut up, and we use one of these big trays that come from like a hardware store where they have like little sections where different nails were put in, and that's where we put all the word cards for a specific section. Based on the step. There are 3 types of word cards. There's word cards that are saying A, word cards that are saying B, and word cards that are not the words. They're just there to help with the context. Okay? Here's the deal. The B ones, the difference between the A and the B is only when you are a little bit hard to vocabulary. You can mix and match depending on what you're doing. Now, in normal circumstances, with this student, I would have been doing great, but since I happened to make a photocopy of the B ones, we're going to see what these are like. These are 15 words that we can do all kinds of activities with and practice the reading. So the first thing I'm going to do, the first activity is, according to this, is asking them to take out the words with the diagrams. So, Val, I'm going to show you each word. Tell me if the word. One of the reasons I did not like this was an activity. If you see it as an activity, say take away the ones that are with diagrams and put those aside. I didn't really like it because I had not really explained to her what a digraph was. She sort of already knew it, so she was able to do it. But I wouldn't do this activity with a student who has not yet learned the diagraphs. So we'll just go with that. Does this word have a diagram? So we're going to put this in a separate pile. That was the first activity. Take a look at this word. What pile would this go under? Right. We're not going to do diagraphs because we didn't practice that today. Which pile does this go under? Which pile does this go under? Good. Which pile does this go under? Okay. Yes, right. Okay. Now we didn't review the diagrams. So if we didn't review the diagrams in the sound quick drill, we actually have no business doing an exercise without diagrams, okay? It just is something that must have been previously reviewed. Okay. Now let's count how many words we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we are going to try to do 9 words, okay? In this case, we don't want to tap each one unless there's a mistake, okay? Because if she can read it without the tapping, we should try that. So ready, go. Excellent. 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 I want to say something. I don't know if you noticed in this video, but she's a little touchy one, right? And she's touching things. In the ideal world, going back to utopia of setting up Wilson, you actually have two tables, one behind you and one in front of you. And a lot of that junk that you see around there would not be in front of the student, because you can see that what I have on my hands is a distractible child. And so maybe I would have that chart with whatever I was using. So the rest of the stuff would be on a separate table waiting for me to pull it. Like I wouldn't have all the time, all the sand timers. I wouldn't have the scissors out there. I wouldn't have the notebook out there, because in this section, all I would have is the cards. So to do it actually the right way, you have a clear table. Behind you, you put the materials, and you have a swivel chair that keep pulling materials to this. Now, do you see that? One, we were doing sound drill, stand up, using a chart. Two, we were using a magnet tiles, you know, sort of like a magnet tiles, magnets and tiles with the ABCs, pulling words. In three, we're using a different touchy thing. We're either using word cards that we had her cut up, or we're using word cards that we had in a box, right? So again, touching and feeling different things. Good. 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 One of the things you want to do in the word cards is you want to choose a vocabulary word. Okay. I want to talk about vocabulary words and using visualization. Okay. If you notice I'm going to bring this up in front on the lesson plan. Okay. In the lesson plan, it talks about a vocabulary word. And maybe you want to choose one word to teach her a vocabulary word. In the section in the notebook, if you're using the notebook the binder that you've made, one of the sections is going to be vocabulary. And you are going to then add this word into the vocabulary section. You may want to do some high frequency words, some sight words. They are not word cards, because the word cards are all decodable, but you may want to introduce was and as a sight word, sight. And I want to quickly show you how you teach sight words in Wilson. Take your two, if you're righty, depends if you're right or left, okay? You teach it a little bit like the sky writing, okay? Gross motor, because gross motor is better than fine motor. So we are going to teach was, W-A-S, and you sky writing. You stand up. I'm going to try to do this so you can see on the screen. W-A-S, was. W-A-S, was. Okay? You practice the sky writing because that helps with the memory of it. Okay? The same thing with and. You would do that, and then you would show them a sight word card, okay? And you would do, it's a different color, and you would say, okay, we are now learning was and we don't want you to decode it, even though the word and is sort of decodable. But anyways, we're going to do that, and then we're going to add, there's a sight word section in the notebook, and I'm going to show you how I teach vocabulary. Hopefully you can hear some of this. Hold on. So we picked this word.
Sorry. Can I ask you, are you able to
Sure.
repeat the 3 sets of word cards? You said A, B, and another one. It was just hard to
Oh,
hear in
yes,
the
thank
video.
you. A, B, and nonsense. A is and B are very similar. B is a little bit higher vocabulary. As you see, I end up using what happened is that I had been sent the B words here. Probably with her, I would have done the A words, but I did the B words. And I see that on one of the words, she doesn't really know what it means. And so I use it as a vocabulary word, but there's very little difference between A and B. B is a little bit harder vocabulary. Nonsense words they're decodable, but they're not real words. They're helpful because later on when we go into multisyllabic words, we're going to have nonsense syllables that get put together to be a word, okay? So we want to practice that, and we want to practice it because, for example, man, cat, all these other words, they become very similar. They become very, like they're almost memorized. Do you know, at some point, like they memorize. You want to do a nonsense words to see can they really just decode with words that they're unfamiliar with. You do not do a nonsense lesson until you have mastered regular words. Okay, so for example, in this case where she doesn't do rim and she makes a lot of mistakes, we're not going to bring her into nonsense words. We're only going to bring her into nonsense words when we feel she's ready for it. Okay? Okay, so basically what I explain her is that the word con is like, I start giving a little bit of a story to give her a picture of a man that's bad and he's selling things and he's really stealing from people. And then she starts explaining to me, which is very interesting, how she saw a video of a guy that sold things and the products weren't good. And that was like a con. And she was right. Like she got it. So when you're doing anything to do with comprehension, you want to treat it like a movie in your head. Okay. You want them to be able to see a picture of in this case, I was talking about a con artist, right? Like see a picture of a really evil person who's selling you something that's not good, and how that person who's buying it ends up walking away and realizing that they're not getting what they should be getting. Okay. And she relates to it, and she automatically tells me a story of a video that she saw about a guy who did a con. There's something else that I want to go over, which I forgot to talk about, and that is my reinforcement that I do. So basically, since it is a 10-part lesson, I have a bag of pennies and I take out 10 pennies, okay? Every section that we finish, I give them a penny. Then at the end of the section, I have a bag of nickels, a bag of dimes, and a bag of quarters. They can give me back some of their pennies to get a nickel or a dime, which is a good math lesson. And if they get all 10 pennies, their bonus for the lesson is a quarter. So if they don't do all, maybe you don't do all because you don't have time, you get called out to do something else, you just can't get that quarter. You get as many pennies as you earned, okay? But if you can finish all 10 parts, you can actually earn 10 cents plus a quarter. You can have your own reinforcement thing. You can do it with stickers. You can do it with all kinds of things. I find money to be very, very, very useful. Okay. All right. Any questions that you have on this? Hold on a second. Yeah, the sound is out because I put it on. I put on pause. Can you hear me? Somebody just said that. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, let me just hit escape because I don't think we need to watch this anymore. Okay, there's one more. There's one more. Okay. I want to thank my granddaughter Esty, who's helping me tonight with some of the video. Here, there's one last one. Okay, so we have one last video that we're going to watch tonight. And we pretty much are going to get through steps 1 through 4. And I'm going to explain to you, I don't have a video for sentence reading, but I'm going to explain it to you. Oh, here we go. next section this is step 4. Oh, let me share.
So, start again. Start again.
Start again. Okay. Thank you, Doc. Now, in the next section is a word list. It is coming from the readers. Every Wilson kit starts off with 12 readers, right, for every level. And they also have an A section, B section, and a section for what we call nonsense words. You can read them, but they're not real words. And in this case, they're going to ask us to read from page 24, which I made a photocopy of. We're going to be charting these words, and we're going to see the errors. This is an accuracy section. We are not timing her. We want to see how many words she can read. Can she read 15 words without making mistakes? We do not want her tapping out these words. We want her to tap them to herself and just read them. So, finger on the place and start. Stop. What I will a lot of times do when I'm doing this, if you see there's 2 sections, a top and a bottom, I will fold over the page so that they don't see both sections. The first part, a lot of times I'll practice some of the words. I will say, we didn't have enough time to do this today, but I will say, you know, read me the 3rd word, the 5th word, the 6th word. Then I'll fold back the other part of the paper and I will say, okay, now we're going to do like a little test and we're going to not stop and talk at all in the middle. And we're going to put the finger on the place and we're going to do all 15 words. There's a reason for it. If she can get 15 out of 15 correct, she knows this section. And if not, we got to do a lot more practice. When she self-corrects, that word is still not right. She did not do right. You can write that down as an error. Good. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Okay, now if you look at this sheet, you'll see a place for you to be able to write down the errors, okay, on the word list that she's missing, okay? And you see a section that says top and bottom. So remember I told you, on each page, there's a top and a bottom. I'm going to show you this sheet just so you could have a sense of what, of this. Hold on one second. Let me stop sharing for a second. Okay, first of all, I want to show you this. These are the word cards, okay, just so you have an idea of what the word cards look like, okay? And you see how they're perforated, so you can just cut them up if you need to. You should be. And this is what I'm talking about, okay? So basically, in the readers, they'll have 15 words, then 15 words. If I had time and they're doing this correctly, I would say, okay, Belle, read this. Read this. Remember rib? We saw rib before in another version, right? Read this word. Now this includes diagraphs. So if we hadn't taught her the digraphs, we shouldn't have these words in here. If we didn't practice the words with the digraphs, we shouldn't be using this sheet. Okay? And then I had her, then I would fold this over and I would have her do these words. And I would pretty much circle the words that she missed. It's not, even if she auto corrects, which you see her doing a lot of, I still would not consider it right. It is not right when they're doing it this way. It's only right when they get it right. Okay? Any questions that you have on this? Okay, going back now to the lesson plan, which was in front of you, you would put down the errors and you would put down the notes. Maybe I have to review this. Maybe I have to review that. Let's finish. Good. 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 You would write down the errors because those are. Okay. One thing I want to talk about is, I'm going to stop this for a second. One thing I want to talk about is that you're writing all of this down. Again, in order to move on to the next section, she's got to get 15 out of 15. These are not pop quizzes. These are words that we've already reviewed. We've reviewed them on the board. We've reviewed them on the word cards, and now we're reviewing them. And we're also sending these words home. The word cards cut up should go home to practice. And these sheets should go home to practice so that you get this, so they start getting this right. The nonsense words, which when you do a nonsense lesson, you have to get a 14 out of 15 in order to move. All right, guys, this has been a long class. We've gotten through sections 1 through sections 4, and hopefully we will be able to finish the entire lesson plan next Monday. Any questions? Okay, I will see you Monday night. The key is to review these lessons, to start playing with the manipulatives and becoming comfortable with them. Okay?
Thank you.
My pleasure.